Hey there, Bruins fans! Welcome back to BNG Hockey, where it's always black and gold. The Boston Bruins have only won 4 of their last 15 games, and people have a lot of questions, so I figured I'd make a video and tell you what the problems are and what the solutions might be. Let's jump right into it. Let's start things off with a problem that could also be a solution depending on how you look at it. David Pasternak is having an unreal season. He's going to get over 40 goals, over 100 points. He cannot be stopped this season, but he is all alone out there. I realize Marchand's having a great season as well, and Bergeron has been good when he's healthy, but that's a big when because he's been banged up pretty much all season long. Pasternak is scoring a goal pretty much every game. What team do you know can go out there and say, we have a 1-0 lead because this guy's going to score? And the Bruins are still losing with a guy like that on their team. That's a problem. So Past is going to keep going. He's shown no signs of stopping. So that's a good thing for the Bruins going down the road. But right now, it's really just him. How many times have you looked at the score sheet? And the Bruins have 1 goal on the night. And guess who? It's David Pasternak and no one else. That brings us to our next problem. The Bruins' next problem, simply put, is where is everyone? Guys like Coyle, DeBrusk, Krejci, Bjork, Heinen, these guys are not stepping up, and every night they are just going out there playing 17 minutes a game and doing nothing to help the Bruins get on the score sheet. It is really, really frustrating. There's just too many of the same type players on the Bruins, and that's a huge problem. You look at guys like Nordstrom and Lindholm. They are carbon copies of each other and do nothing. Bjork and Heinen, both 2 guys who should be skilled, who have room to grow, who can bring speed and can have good nights, but right now doing nothing. Backus and Ritchie, they're the same guy who get thrown into the lineup to play 7 minutes, lay a couple hits, and maybe every now and then it tips off of them in front and they score a goal. But pretty much you get nothing. Are you seeing a pattern here? You know my man David Krejci making $7 million, and every now and then he gets lucky when they pull the goalie and he's out there with the elite guys. Maybe he gets an assist or sets up for a goal that came off a fantastic pass that even I would score. So it's really frustrating to see a guy like that not even be able to drive a line, and I know he has all different wingers all season long, but that's been a problem for a long time. I would think he would be used to it now, and he's always with Jake DeBrusk, and the 2 of them can't even get it going. So that's a huge problem for the Bruins, and if they're going to start winning again, they need at least something from one of these guys. This next one both is and isn't a problem. It's the goaltending. Tuukka Rask is going to the All-Star game, and Halak is having another great season, so you wouldn't think they're a problem. But if you watch the games, the goals they're letting in are just terrible. It's these little trickle goals or weird side of the net shots, and they're just not making the big saves. That big glove against another team's superstar to change the momentum. That breakaway stop, a big save in overtime, another save in the shootout. They're not giving that to you. They're making the simple saves, which is good, but they just need to make those saves to give the team a chance. This team is struggling to score, so if you don't make that stop or you let a soft one in, that's it. We're done. We cannot score, and we cannot afford to have our elite level tandem play okay. They need to be at the top of their game, at least till the Bruins can figure out their scoring trouble. One last thing before we move on to the solutions. Are the Bruins just overrated? I know, it's shocking, it is, but I see some fans out there who clearly just look at the standings and think the Bruins are fine. If you watch every game, this team is not a top Atlantic team. This team is not a top 3 in the NHL kind of team. If you watch them play, they are pretty bad, and they are losing a lot in overtime. They're getting that good job, guys. You survived long enough to get a loser point, and that's helping them stay up there in the standings. Now, that's fine. I'll be happy if they finish in the top. They're going to get a better playoff matchup. It's better than losing in regulation. I get that. But fans need to start watching the games. Fans need to stop falling in love with the place in the standings and take a look at how bad our third and fourth lines are, and how bad our defense is on some nights, and how bad the goaltending is on some nights, and realize that, hey, even though we're up here in the Atlantic, I would probably rather have Tampa Bay's roster. Or take a look at the Capitals and realize how much better the Capitals are than us, even though they're 3 points ahead of us in the standings, or whatever that might be. But the Bruins are just a dash overrated right now because they are getting really lucky. I don't know if you remember earlier on in the season, a game like the Minnesota Wild game where Minnesota is dominating us and they are a terrible team at that point, and we get lucky, score 2 goals late, win in overtime. There was a lot of that. A lot of crazy comebacks in the third period, get lucky, get an overtime point, or stumble into a 2-point victory. So the Bruins are just a dash overrated, and you need to start watching the games a little bit more, and I hope management watches the games instead of looking at the standings and thinking they're fine, because they're not fine. So let's talk about what they can do to change that. The first solution is something the Bruins desperately need. It's a trade. Whether it's for Chris Kreider, Tyler Toffoli, Brendan Saad's name's been out there. The Blackhawks scouted multiple Bruins games back to back to back. It was rumored that they were interested in the Bruins decor, but then they got all sorts of banged up and that chatter's kind of cooled off. At this point, I really don't care who it is. They just need a guy who can play in the top 6 and spark this offense, because they are getting absolutely nothing. You even look at a guy like Paul Mary for the Devils. That team is looking to sell. There are teams out there looking to sell right now. The price won't be that much different from what it would be at the trade deadline, and you desperately need it. So at this point, it would be worth it to pay that price if you're getting a guy who can help you spark your offense. Another way you could spark the offense is call up the kids. You got Jack Studnicka down there having an incredible season. He looked great in his 2 games and even put up an assist in one of them. So I think he would bring a spark to your offense immediately. I think the Bruins want him to develop this year in the AHL. I know they want him to play center, and they don't know if there's room for him to play center this season. I understand that, but if you're looking for the offense, he would bring it. Another guy who could bring it is Zach Senyshyn. He's not really a point per night kind of guy, but he brings a lot of speed. He has some offensive upside. He would just give you a different look. I talked about earlier those players who are the same. If you put Senyshyn in instead of a Lindholm and a Nordstrom, at least you're getting a different type of player, and you're getting different opportunities because you have a different type of player in the lineup. So the Bruins need to start looking down in Providence and seeing what they have, trying guys out. Maybe somebody sticks. And the last solution might sound obvious, but it needs to be said. They could start winning hockey games. They have a lot of talented players, not a ton of depth. They have great leadership who could get them going. They have a good coach. If they start to get going, if guys like Coyle, Heinen, Bjork, DeBrusk, Krejci start picking it up to the half the level that Pasternak is playing at, the Bruins would be fine. And then if they add another piece at the trade deadline, or they add 2 pieces, or they call up a kid, it would only get better. They're not going to lose every game from now to the end of the season. They will get out of this. Every team goes through highs and lows. It's part of the season. But it's really frustrating to watch right now, and it feels like they're just so stagnant. So they need somebody to pull them out of there. They need to work as a team to get better, to win hockey games, to change their style, and change the feeling in the room. Because right now, they are at an all-time low, so it can only go up from here. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think is wrong with the Bruins? What do they need to change? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like, and if you haven't already, subscribe.